In 2011, the University of Waterloo's School of Accounting and Financial Management implemented a program that helps students integrate knowledge and skills across discrete courses. This integrative program comprises 1 course in speech communications and 3 courses in accounting and financial management. What are the 3 goals of the integrative program?
The integrative course sequence was added to really try and achieve 3 things. One would be focused development of what most people call soft skills on an ongoing basis through the curriculum. So instead of giving them a course on speech communications and saying learn to do presentations in this course once in 2nd year and they might never see it again, we wanted to build that soft skill development on an ongoing basis. And so that was one of the outcomes. The second outcome we got to very quickly is we wanted our students to learn how to learn. And so we've included that as a soft skill, but to the extent we are trying to help develop future professionals, that whole ability for an attitude for continuous professional development was an important dimension. Those were the 2 initial reasons we thought of doing this. And then the third reason really was this idea that, okay, we also need to take responsibility for helping our students learn how to integrate, initially across different accounting and finance functions. And so they know how to integrate financial reporting with finance, for example, tax. So when they look at an issue, they look at it as a business issue, and then they look at how do they bring the accounting and finance capabilities to that issue or decision. And as we started to refine that idea, we realized, okay, well, we've also got to be able to integrate with their understanding of business, and it'd be nice if they could actually work in a team while they were doing and basically communicate what they found. And so ultimately it started becoming integration across a whole range of competencies and skills.
And the blend, regarding the blend with theory and the practical, really came to play during the case in the sense that there were specific terms that were being referenced back to like AFM 131, the Intro to Business. For example, like total product offer. That was a term that was used in the case, and if you forgot what it meant, you had to go back to the 131 textbook and to look at what that meant and how you can properly address that objective of the case. So being able to recall and to reuse that knowledge and to recycle that knowledge into your own presentation was definitely an important skill that we have learned.
Integrative learning, seeing the bigger picture.
I think what we're trying to do is, instead of asking them to become generalists, ask them to understand the context within they operate, they make decisions, and so they understand that there's a bigger picture and they can see the bigger picture.
So when I took my managerial accounting course, I didn't really see how that managerial accounting really fit with the financial accounting, and that it was just 2 different districts. And then, however, when I started reading the Speech 111 case, it actually referenced to both of these courses and the third one, the general business course, and you kind of start seeing the linkage between all 3 and how it really kind of triangulates to kind of form a really strong foundation for why it's important that you take those 2 courses in first year. Because in first year, when I first took like business and accounting, it was really segregated, and we felt that there were no real application of one to another. And so through the case itself, by drawing in those 3 courses, the terms and the concepts, it really does allow you to think holistically.
Why make integration such an explicit part of the program?
When I was a student here, the size of the cohort was much smaller. We were a graduating class of 23. Even when they got the program up to 50 or 75, you could do it implicitly. And faculty would just kind of work together to make that happen. When you get to the scale we're at, which is a cohort of 375 to 400 students, it can't be implicit anymore. We have to, as a faculty, sort of make commitments to make it happen, and we've got to make the students aware that it's something that's expected of them. So that really was one driver, which was how do we try and scale this? The other driver, and I've sort of referenced it a couple of times, Howard Gardner's book on sort of 5 Minds for the Future has had a pretty significant impact, at least on me, and whatever influence I've had on our programming design. And he certainly talks about, as we move forward in the future, there's going to be increasing pressure for specialization. And the more people specialize and the deeper they get, the harder it is for them to draw connections and actually get to what he calls a synthesizing mind. And so we looked at that and said, we can certainly see it in our professions. In accounting, finance, there's increasing specialization, and so you may be a tax specialist, but the really good tax specialists are the ones that can go deep and can also come up and look across. And so ultimately, we're hoping we're preparing our students for that kind of future.
Being in an integrative course or with doing an integrative case really allows you to go back to and revisit concepts that you weren't really concretized in the beginning. So for example, like an AFM 101, like Introduction to Financial Accounting, there were a few concepts that I was iffy about that even though I passed the course in the first term, you're forced to revisit in the second term because of this case, and that the course itself forcing you to relearn concepts that were iffy in the beginning is a really important aspect, because later on in second, third, fourth year, the Introduction to Financial Accounting is the basis for all the auditing, taxation, all those courses. So being able to revisit those concepts and to kind of just settle down to iron all the details and misunderstandings was definitely important.
Measuring competence.
What the 4 integrative courses give us an opportunity to do is to actually measure whether the student is competent. And so we're now at the sort of process with the second year course of trying to say, okay, well, at this point, how would we define competence? And it really is an integrative activity, because the various professional associations we try and work with in accounting and finance have lots of wonderful definitions for competency, most of which require you to use the word competent in the definition, which isn't terribly helpful, particularly for students. But Dr. Peter Jensen has one definition for competent that I love, and he just says it's the ability to do it when it really matters in the real world. And so we're trying to design the cases at a level that says this is what we think you need to be able to do at this point out in the real world. So before you go on your next work term, this is what we expect you would see. Can you actually do this? And that, I think, increasingly is something we're going to try and build into the program, specifically in each of those sort of 4 courses.
In summary, what impact will the integrative program have on your graduates?
We'd like to think coming out of the program, our grads are in a position where they can use their depth and apply it with a range of sort of soft skills or essential skills, and be able to survive and hopefully thrive in a broad range of situations.